At my father's funeral, a man whispered to me that it was my mother who poisoned him. I didn't believe it at first, until she got remarried just 3 days later. In court, I played the deleted videos, and her life was over. The casket was still open when the man leaned close. "Your mother poisoned him," he whispered. I saw her. I turned, gray suit, hospital badge clipped to his pocket. Dr. Chen, Dad's physician for the last 3 months. What? The night visits, the IV bags she brought from home, said they were supplements. I checked the security tapes. He paused. Then they disappeared. He pressed a business card into my hand and walked away. I stood there, frozen. The organ music played softly. Someone was crying in the back row. The smell of lilies was overwhelming. My mother stood by the casket, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. Black dress, pearl necklace, hair perfect, the perfect widow, the perfect performance. I looked down at the card in my hand. Dr. James Chen, internal medicine. A phone number written on the back in pen. I didn't believe him. Couldn't. Mom loved Dad. They'd been married 30 years. 30 years. I slipped the card into my pocket, walked to the front, stood next to my mother. She squeezed my hand. Her eyes were red, makeup running slightly. "He's at peace now," she whispered. I nodded, couldn't speak. Dad looked small in the casket. Gray, not like himself. He was only 58, healthy, or so I thought. Then 3 months ago, he got sick. Kidney failure, sudden, aggressive. The doctors couldn't explain it. And now he was gone. The funeral ended. People offered condolences, hugged my mother, told her how strong she was. She smiled, thanked them, played the part perfectly. I drove home alone that night, sat in my apartment, stared at the wall. Dr. Chen's card sat on my coffee table. I didn't call. Then 3 days later, she got remarried. 3 days. The funeral was Saturday. The wedding was Tuesday. I found out from Facebook a photo, my mother in a white dress, not black anymore, smiling wide, holding hands with Richard, Dad's business partner. The caption, "Sometimes love finds you when you least expect it. New beginnings, blessed happily ever after." 47 likes already. Comments congratulating her. My hands shook. The phone almost slipped from my grip. Dad died 2 weeks ago, 14 days, and she was married again, to his business partner, the man who'd been at our house for dinners, who'd sat at our table, who'd shaken my father's hand. I scrolled through her page, looking for something, anything that made sense. Found photos from a month ago, her and Richard at a restaurant, her and Richard at a concert, her and Richard on a weekend trip, all while Dad was in the hospital dying. My stomach turned. I sat in my apartment. Dr. Chen's card was still on my desk. I'd carried it home from the funeral, set it down, tried to forget about it. I stared at it for an hour. Then I called. "Hello, Dr. Chen? This is David. David Morrison. You spoke to me at my father's funeral." "I remember. I'm glad you called. I need to know everything." We met the next day. Coffee shop downtown, corner table, quiet. He brought a folder, kept it in his lap, wouldn't let it leave his hands. "Your father was healthy," Dr. Chen said, voice low. "His medical history was clean. No kidney issues. No family history of kidney disease. Then suddenly he wasn't. Kidney failure. Fast. Too fast for natural causes." "What does that mean?" "It means I ran extra tests, without your mother's knowledge. Found traces of ethylene glycol in his blood work. Antifreeze. Small doses over weeks, maybe months." My stomach dropped. "Your mother visited every night," he continued. "After visiting hours, she had a key card somehow. Brought special IV bags. Said they were supplements approved by his other doctor. Herbal remedies. Natural treatments. There was no other doctor?" "No." I checked. I asked her for the name. She kept saying she'd get it to me. Never did. He pulled out his phone. Showed me a video. Grainy. Security footage. Timestamp in the corner. My mother entering Dad's hospital room. Looking around. Checking the hallway. Changing the IV bag quickly. Adjusting the drip rate. Checking the door again. Leaving. She did this 4 nights in a row. 4 different bags. Then your father got worse. Then he died. I felt cold. Numb. "Why didn't you go to the police?" "I tried. Went to hospital administration first. Told them I needed the security footage preserved. They said they'd look into it. 2 days later, the footage was gone. Deleted. The hospital said there was a technical error. A system malfunction. Someone erased it. Yes. And your father signed a DNR. Do not resuscitate. No autopsy. No examination. Nothing to test. Just cremation orders already filed. So she gets away with it." He looked at me. His eyes tired. Sad. "Unless someone who has legal standing requests an investigation. A family member. A son." I understood. "I made a copy first," he said. "Sent the footage to my personal email before it was deleted. I knew something was wrong. I couldn't let it just disappear." He showed me the files. 4 videos. 4 nights. All showing the same thing. My mother. Changing IV bags. Poisoning my father. "I could lose my license for this," he said quietly. "For keeping this. For not reporting through proper channels. But your father was a good man. He deserved better." I took the videos. Thanked him. Left. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Thinking about my mother. About 30 years of marriage. About every family dinner. Every holiday. Every moment I thought was real. Had she been planning this the whole time? The next morning, I went to Dad's house. My mother's house now. I still had a key. She was out. Honeymoon, probably. The Facebook photos showed beaches and palm trees. I went to Dad's office. The room he'd spent hours in. Working. Reading. Thinking. His computer was still there. Password still the same. My birthday. I searched his files. Found his security system folder. Dad was paranoid about break-ins. Had cameras everywhere. External hard drive hidden in his desk drawer. Behind old tax returns. I plugged it in. Months of footage, every room, every angle, time-stamped, organized by date. I spent 8 hours watching. Kitchen, living room, bedroom, garage, weeks of normal life, dad reading, mom cooking, both of them watching TV. Then I found it. Kitchen, 2 months ago, 7 a.m. Dad sitting at the table, coffee cup in front of him, reading the newspaper. My mother walked in, poured herself coffee, talked to him. He laughed at something she said. Then his phone rang. He stood up, walked to the other room to answer. My mother looked at his coffee cup, looked at the doorway, reached into her robe pocket, pulled out a small bottle, clear liquid, poured it into his coffee, maybe a tablespoon, stirred it with his spoon, put the bottle back in her pocket, sat down, sipped her own coffee, smiled. Dad came back, drank his coffee, kissed her forehead, left for work. I watched it 3 times, made sure I wasn't seeing things. I wasn't. Bedroom, 6 weeks ago, 10 p.m. Dad taking his nightly medications, pills lined up on the nightstand, blood pressure, cholesterol, vitamins. My mother handed him water, kissed his cheek. But in the corner of the frame, I saw it, saw her hand, saw her switch the pills while he wasn't looking, replace them with something else, something from her pocket. Garage, 4 weeks ago, 2 p.m. Dad's antifreeze container sitting on the shelf, the green liquid visible through the plastic. My mother walked in, looked around, grabbed the container, poured it into a small glass bottle, maybe 4 ounces, looked directly at the camera, didn't seem to realize it was recording, put the cap back on the antifreeze, put the small bottle in her purse, walked out. Hospital. 3 months ago to 2 weeks ago, 4 different nights, 4 different videos. My mother entering the room, changing IV bags, looking nervous, checking the door constantly. Each time, Dad got worse the next day. I sat there in the dark. My father's office, his chair, his desk, his things. She killed him. My mother, the woman who raised me, who made me breakfast every morning, who helped me with homework, who kissed my forehead when I was sick. She murdered him, slowly, methodically, over months, while smiling, while playing the devoted wife, while sleeping with his business partner. I felt sick, ran to the bathroom, threw up, sat on the floor, crying, shaking. Then I got up, washed my face, went back to the office, copied everything. 3 external hard drives, cloud storage, encrypted files, gave 1 copy to my lawyer, kept 1 in a safety deposit box, kept 1 with me. Then I waited. They came back from the honeymoon 2 weeks later, posted pictures, beaches, sunset dinners, her head on Richard's shoulder, matching rings. The comments were supportive. So happy for you. You deserve this. Love wins. Nobody questioned it. Nobody thought it was strange. I filed for an investigation the next day, requested an exhumation, provided the hospital footage as probable cause. The police called her in for questioning. She hired a lawyer, expensive one, played the grieving widow, said I was unstable, grieving, angry about her new marriage, jealous, irrational. My son is having trouble processing his father's death, she told the detective. He's looking for someone to blame. This is a horrible accusation, but the judge approved the exhumation anyway. They dug up my father, ran extensive tests, toxicology, tissue samples, everything they could, found ethylene glycol, concentrated, lethal levels, in his organs, his bones, his hair, months of poisoning, undeniable. They arrested my mother on a Thursday morning, showed up at her house, Richard's house now. They'd moved in together, handcuffed her in front of the neighbors, perp walk, cameras. She cried, screamed, said it was a mistake, a misunderstanding. Richard stood in the doorway, watching, said nothing. The trial was 4 months later. I sat in the front row every single day, took time off work, didn't miss a moment. She wouldn't look at me, kept her eyes down, or on her lawyer, never at me. Her lawyer was good, argued coincidence, accident. Maybe Dad ingested antifreeze somehow, maybe contaminated medication from a pharmacy error, maybe environmental exposure. There's no direct evidence linking my client to any intentional poisoning, he said. The prosecutor was better, showed the hospital footage. Dr. Chen testified, explained the medical timeline, the sudden decline, the traces in the blood work, but they needed more, needed definitive proof. The defense was poking holes, creating reasonable doubt. That's when I stood up. Your Honor, I have additional evidence. The courtroom went quiet. Everyone turned. I walked to the front, USB drive in my hand. My mother's face went white. She grabbed her lawyer's arm, whispered something frantically. Her lawyer stood. Objection! This wasn't submitted in discovery. This is highly irregular. Your Honor, I said calmly. This evidence is from my father's personal property, his home security system. I only recently found it. It's directly relevant to the case. The judge looked at the prosecutor, at the defense attorney, at me. I'll allow it. But counselor, you'll have time to review before we proceed. They plugged the USB into the courtroom display system. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up. I didn't narrate. Didn't need to. The video played. Kitchen. Mom pouring the clear liquid into Dad's coffee. Looking around. Casual. Practiced. Bedroom. Mom switching pills. Smooth. Quick. Efficient. Garage. Mom filling the small bottle from the antifreeze container. Looking directly at the camera. Not knowing. Hospital. Mom changing IV bags. 4 different nights. 4 different angles. 4 clips total. 3 minutes. Crystal clear. Time stamped. No ambiguity. No doubt. The room was completely silent. I watched my mother. She was shaking. Tears running down her face. But not sad tears. Not grief. Scared tears. Trapped tears. Her lawyer had his head in his hands. Richard sat in the back. He stood up. Walked out. Never looked back at her. The prosecutor didn't even need to summarize. Just said, the state rests. The jury took 40 minutes. 40 minutes to watch the videos again. To to deliberate, to decide, guilty, first-degree murder, premeditated, with special circumstances. My mother sobbed, collapsed in her chair. Her lawyer caught her. The judge spoke, his voice hard, cold. Mrs. Morrison, your actions were calculated, methodical. You poisoned your husband slowly over months while pretending to care for him. You showed no remorse. You remarried before his body was cold, before his family could even grieve. He paused. You betrayed every vow you made, every promise, every moment of trust. My mother was crying, begging, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean 30 years to life. No possibility of parole for 25 years. The gavel hit. The bailiff moved forward, put handcuffs on her wrists. She looked at me then, really looked at me, for the first time in months. Please, she said, her voice breaking. Please, I'm your mother. I stood up, walked to the railing, leaned close enough that only she could hear. You stopped being my mother the day you killed my father. Her face crumbled, completely broke. They led her away. She screamed my name, begged me to help her, promised she'd explain everything, promised it wasn't what it looked like. I didn't turn around, just walked out of the courtroom. Outside, reporters swarmed, cameras, microphones, questions shouted from every direction. I ignored them, pushed through, kept walking. Dr. Chen was waiting by my car, leaning against the hood, hands in his pockets. Thank you, I said. He nodded. Your father was a good man. He deserved justice. He did. I'm sorry you had to go through this. Don't be. I'm glad I know the truth. We shook hands. He walked away. I drove to the cemetery, stood at Dad's grave, new headstone, fresh flowers someone had left. She's gone, I said quietly. She can't hurt you anymore. The wind blew. Leaves scattered across the grass. The sun was setting, orange and gold. I placed my hand on the headstone, cold marble under my palm. I got her, Dad. I got her. I stayed until the sun disappeared, until the cemetery lights came on, until the cold made me shiver. Then I walked back to my car. Behind me, Dad rested, finally at peace. And Mom? She'd spend the rest of her life in a cage, 30 years minimum. She was 56 now. She'd be 81 before she could even apply for parole. Most of her life gone.